Happy wife, happy life. It rhymes, so people think it's wisdom,
So does sleep tight, don't let the bedbugs bite?
but both usually end up with someone getting bitten.
Keep talking and you'll find out which one bites harder. This is Half Right. Real talk about relationships that don't fit on a bumper sticker.
Or in cliches from the 1950s.
Happy wife, happy life sounds nice.
So does free cruise, but both come with a lot of hidden costs. Happy wife, happy life. Well, if you're not of our generation, you may have never heard that phrase, but it originated sometime in the 1950s, and we grew up in the 60s, and I certainly remember it. It even spilled over into the 1970s. So the thinking was, if the wife is happy, then everybody in the house is going to be happy. But I think that phrase has multiple flaws, which we're gonna dig into some of them. But that's where it came from. It's a relic from the 1950s, and actually I did a little research and found a few other of the greatest hits from that era. Another one is, "If Mama ain't happy, nobody's happy." So can you see any of the flaws in this logic?
Well, that was the sentiment of the era, right? I mean, there was a different structure in the family. And sure, I think that was the reflection of some of these sayings, right? Uh, the woman of the house was taking care of the family, the chores, the cooking. And if she wasn't happy, a lot of those things would fall apart.
Yeah, and we had more specific roles then. That was the woman's role. The man's role was to be stoic, be the provider, suck it up, buttercup, you know, and just be a man. That was the thinking of the time. It's like, so the suck it up, buttercup culture, it might work in a football game or a military operation, but in a marriage, maybe not so much.
So, since this was the sentiment of the era, I'm sure there were other sayings like that.
Yeah, another one I have here is a happy spouse, quiet house. That's basically the same thing as a happy wife, happy life, except it's not quite as gender specific. In happy wife, happy life, it's more, it prioritizes only one person's feelings. Like if the wife is happy or if the wife is unhappy, that just dictates the entire mood of the house. And it sort of neglects the man in that one. And don't get me wrong, I'm all about the current culture of girl power. It's like more power to girls. I get that. I'm all for it. But not at the expense of ignoring men, because men have feelings and emotions too. It's like we're taught, or at least in my era, we were taught not to show them so much, but they're still there. So I'm all for girl power and women empowerment, as long as it doesn't ignore men. And I think that is happening to a degree in today's culture. And I know this is getting a little off topic, but I think that's one of the reasons that why so many of today's young men are confused about what their identity should be.
So it's interesting how history, right? There's a pendulum that goes from one extreme to the other. But going back to the sayings, right? Was there any other when you looked them up?
Well, another one of the classics is, and I think just about everyone has heard this one because it has sort of transcended generations. Marriage is work. Now, that is actually true.
Right.
That is actually true, but it should only be true to a degree. Because if it feels like it's taking the effort of working in a coal mine, you should probably just consult a therapist or at least call OSHA.
Yeah, that was not the right partner for sure.
Yeah.
So, again, these sayings come from an era where a lot of these, interactions or relationships were reflected in sitcoms, right?
Exactly. And I can remember a couple of the big ones that reflected that was I Love Lucy and The Honeymooners, where Lucy was always, getting into trouble and manipulating her way back into Ricky's good graces. And and on The Honeymooners, Ralph was a loudmouth, but everybody knew that who was really in charge. It was Alice. It was not Ralph.
So, if that was so, uneven, right? Why would men repeat it?
Well, because it was just easier than having a conflict. They repeated it and lived it to avoid conflict. It's just that simple.
And why did women tolerate it?
Because at least temporarily it worked. But over the long haul, it's just not sustainable for a happy house or a happy marriage.
Very true.
So, where does it all go sideways? Well, it goes sideways in quite a few places, but I think the main place it really takes a turn downward is it prioritizes one person's happiness. We've already touched on this, but in this saying, the happy wife, happy life, it prioritizes the woman's mood. The woman's mood basically dictates the entire forecast of the house, and it sort of ignores the husband's perspective, or at least makes it secondary.
Right. Well, I think that also encourages avoidance, right? Instead of communication, where the husband is just like grunting and nodding, right?
Yeah, this was the era where communication was considered from the man just grunting while reading the newspaper.
Wait a second. That's our communication before your first cup of coffee.
Oh, that is true. Until I've had at least two cups of coffee, I do not graduate out of Cro-Magnon mode.
And so the problem is that, with this avoidance of communication, the problems just piled on and nobody was watching, right?
Exactly. And it ignores partnership. It obviously that follows from prioritizing one person's happiness. It completely ignores partnership. Marriage is not a transaction, it's a mutual effort.
Very true. And of course, it normalizes emotional imbalance, right? It sets a precedence where compromise is really one-sided.
Exactly.
So we have talked about all the reasons why the old cliche, happy wife, happy life, doesn't work.
Mm-hmm.
So what actually works?
Well, let's take a look at a few things. So first is both partners' feelings matter, and a wife's happiness is, of course, important, but not at the expense of the husband's well-being. Don't ignore the guys.
Well, that's true. And also, honest, clear conversations work better than nodding and pretending.
Mm-hmm.
The often neglected part of communication is what? Listening.
Yeah, and sometimes I listen, but mostly it's to plan my comeback.
That is so true.
Okay, let's look at another one. Shared responsibility. Partnership means both partners invest in solutions, not just appearances.
And of course, my favorite, right? Humor as glue.
Of course, that's my favorite also.
Absolutely. Laughing at yourself and the absurdity of it all keeps things human.
Mm-hmm.
And humor outlives flowers, and it doesn't trigger allergies.
Yeah, very true. Well, so much for rhymes fixing everything.
Marriage works better when both people show up.
Yep, listening, laughing, and pitching in, they beat cliches any day.
Congratulations! You passed.
Good.
Mostly. Don't forget to like and subscribe.
Click it. It'll make Luna smile. Look here, I ran the data. The term mutual respect scores higher than obedience.
Shocking. Next, you're going to tell me water's wet?
Seriously, though, you think I should publish this?
Only if you enjoy peer-reviewed humiliation.